go. All right. We got a pretty good crew, 7 people. We'll get more people joining us. It's interesting, we got a lot of people from New Zealand. Amazing, more than from America. Wow. New Zealand must be a country of devotees. Okay, we are going to chant Jai Radha Madhava. Here we go. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Malabha Giribharadhari Gopi Jana Malabha Giribharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jai Huradam Madhava Kunya Vihari Jai Hurad Madhava Kunya Vihari Gopi Jana Balaba Iri Badadati Gopi Jana Balaba Iri Badadati Yasodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Teta Satashi Shiman His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shishi Radhakrishna Gopata Sayam Kun Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagadath Sami Ki Jai Munamai Ki Jai Shimari Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Go. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda. So Om Ganat Timidanda Shah, Gananjada Shalakaya Chakshur and Meditam, Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my divine spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, we are continuing our Bhagavad Gita study tonight, this exciting study of Bhagavad Gita, and we are still on the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Now we're going to read the Bhagavad Gita together and speak a little bit about it. So this is actually a very important verse. It's 34. Let's move these little things out of the way. So here, Krishna is actually referring to Arjuna's Kshatriya nature. So, here we go. Akirtim chapi bhutani katayashyanti te vayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranada tirichate. Akirtim, infamy. Cha, also, api, over and above. Bhutani, all people. Katayashanti, will speak. Te, of you, of yayam, forever. Sambhavitasya, for a respectable man. Cha, also. Akirtihi, ill fame. Maranat, then death. Atigrichate, becomes more. Translation, people will always speak of your infamy. And for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Wow. This applies to a Kshatriya, because a Brahmin wouldn't really care about it. In fact, we find some great personalities who specifically put themselves in a situation where people criticize them, where people think they're useless, where people think they're dumb, so they won't be bothered. And of course, one typical example of that is Rishabhadev, who was an incarnation of God. He did this Jata Yoga, wandered through the streets just completely naked, and people were throwing things in and at him and everything like that. And even in the modern day, we have Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj, who just chanted his japa inside a latrine just so that people wouldn't bother him. So a devotee is Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamaye. Devotee is not interested in any of these things like prestige or followers, etc., like that. Of course, he wants them for Krishna. He wants Krishna to have followers, Krishna to have prestige, Krishna to have attractive people, and attractive verses and poetic verses, but for himself, he's not interested. But someone who is functioning in passion, as Arjuna was, even though he's the pure devotee, his physical shell, the body, was in the mode of passion. So he had to fight, and he was interested in prestige, bragging rights. So both as friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you'd do better, you'd do better. Anyway, a little unusual English. To die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. Or in other words, to be ready to die, because if you withdraw, your reputation is finished. And we find that in many societies where reputation is so important, and people are so concerned with other people talking behind their backs, and rumors and slander and things like that. Who cares? Who cares? The only reason we would care is if we are interested in spreading Krishna consciousness, and our mission would be hindered by having the reputation hurt. And sometimes a devotee may be interested in getting a good reputation for preaching, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was sort of losing his reputation before he took sannyas, because he got so ecstatic in Krishna consciousness. He was chanting Krishna's names, of course, but he was also chanting the names of the gopis, and his students started to chastise him and criticize him, and he thought, wow, why my students criticizing and chastising me? They're actually hurting themselves spiritually. So I appeared to save the most fallen, but I'm sending people to, let's say, a negative destination. So therefore, I better take sannyas where people are forced to respect me. So sannyas in India helps in that particular way. Just like if I go to India dressed like this, then people say, oh, Maharaj, oh, Dear Maharaj, what do you want? Anything you want, we will give you. Of course, that's the wrong pronunciation. But in America, it doesn't make a difference. In America, it looks like something else. But in India, it's a very effective preaching strategy. So, next verse. Bayad rananuparatam masyante tvam maharataha yesham chatvam bahu matto utvayasyasi lagavam. And translation. Bayat, out of fear, Ranat, from the battlefield, uparatam, ceased. Mamsyante, they will consider Twam you, Maharataha, the great generals, Yesham, for whom Cha also, Twam you, Bahu Mata, in great estimation. Bhutwa, having been, Yasyasi, you will go, Lagavam, decreased in value. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you to be insignificant. So, Prabhupada explains the Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. So Krishna is using other arguments here to encourage Arjuna to do his duty. But these are not the ultimate arguments. The ultimate argument is, of course, you should do what Krishna says. Text 36. Vachavanam shabuhun patishyanti tabhagitaha nindantastava samarjam tato dukataram nu kim avacha, unkind, vadan, fabricated words, cha, also, vahun, vadishyanti, will say, taba, your ahitaha, enemies, nindantaha, vilifying, tava, your samartyam, ability, tata, than that, dukataram, more painful, new, of course, kim, what is there. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Same argument. Purport. Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. That means people know the higher values of life. It doesn't refer to a particular type of race. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. And one thing I should explain here, it says Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning. Why was Krishna astonished? Because as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he knows everything, past, present, and future. So why is he astonished that Arjuna is acting like that? In fact, his whole plan was that Arjuna would act like that. Not only shouldn't he have been astonished, but he was the one who planned it out like that. He wanted Arjuna to be under illusion so the Bhagavad Gita would be spoken and people could hear the spiritual knowledge, and you and I could be sitting here today remembering this conversation. Well, the reason he was astonished, and it's not just an act, is that Krishna has this potency called Yoga Maya. And the Yoga Maya potency, Krishna allows that potency to act to enable him to forget that he's God. Now, why would you want to forget that you're God? That's an interesting statement, because probably most of us, we wouldn't mind being God for a few minutes, because, you get anything you want. Actually, that's the most, terrifying job I could ever think of. It's bad enough, not bad enough, but it's actually hard to keep up with all the emails I'm getting, or text message I'm getting, or questions I'm getting, and responsibilities. Imagine if you were getting emails from the whole universe constantly. From the whole universe means from everybody in the universe constantly. So that's the nature of God. And so that's hard. It's a hard job. I don't want to be God. And so Krishna, and also if you're always thinking about your position, let's say, not God, but let's say you have a high position in some company and everybody's worshiping you because of that position. It gets pretty dry after a while. Everybody comes up to you and says, "Oh, Mr. Boss, Mr. Boss, Mr. Boss, Mr. Boss. Whatever you say, Mr. Boss, will do, Mr. Boss. As you're paying my salary, Mr. Boss." It gets pretty bad. So you'd rather be home with your family, forgetting about the Mr. Boss thing in the office. So Krishna is like that too. Krishna expands himself as Mr. Boss. That's Narayan, Lord Vishnu. That's the boss incarnation of Krishna. But when Krishna is here interacting with his associates, intimate associates, particularly friends like Arjuna, then he just wants to, let's say, in a metaphor, not a literal sense, a figurative sense, put down his hair, just be himself, just be a person. And that's the greatest enjoyment, to actually just be a person rather than to be in charge of everything. So Krishna's expansions are in charge of everything and dealing with everything, and even those expansions don't come in contact with the material world. His expansions have further expansions, such as Lord Shiva, that deals with the material world, or other types of energies that deal with the material world. But Krishna himself and his varied expansions are dealing spiritually. They're never touching Maya. But in this particular case, Krishna is actually bewildered, astonished. How can my friend act like this? I thought he was just like a hero. He's acting like I don't want to say a little girl, but he's, because little girls can be heroic. So Krishna's astonished. Exactly that. And he's feeling that. How is this happening? Because he's not, at this point, he's not displaying his opulence of omniscience. So, next verse. Hatova prapshyasi swargam jitva vavukshase mahim tasmarutishta konteha yudaya krita nischayaha. Hataha, being killed by either prashyasi, you gain, swargam, the heavenly kingdom, jitva, by conquering, va, or bhukshase, you enjoy, mahim, the world, tasmat, therefore, tishta, get up, kontiya, son of Kunti, yudhaya, to fight, krita, determined, nischayaha, in certainty. Translation, O son of Kunti, either you will be killed in the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. So Prabhupada explains, even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight, for even being killed there, he could be elevated to the heavenly planets. So these are all just reassurances by Krishna. It's not the ultimate lesson of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's just trying to get Arjuna, going, basically. So he will listen. Sometimes, in order for someone to correct themselves, they have to hit bottom. Now, this is somewhat established when you're dealing with people who are addicted to different substances. They really have to hit rock bottom and just say, help, I'm at the bottom. So Krishna, by these words, even though it appears to be encouraging Arjuna to fight, he's really just like laying it on to Arjuna, and just Arjuna's becoming more and more and more depressed. So he'll be in the proper situation to hear nicely from Krishna and take shelter. Because as long as one has taken shelter of their own intelligence, which Arjuna was previously doing, if you remember the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, giving so many reasons why he couldn't fight. I understand Dharma more than this Krishna who's telling me to fight. Then he wasn't able to hear. As Prabhupada often would say, that when we're explaining Krishna consciousness to someone, first of all, they have to understand that they don't know that they don't know. They don't even know that they don't know. We talked about this before, how Socrates knew that he didn't know. At least he was more intelligent than everybody else. But most of us don't know that we don't know. That's amazing. At least we should know that we don't know. And Arjuna has to come to that point, as all of us, to be able to hear nicely, because hearing is done submissively. Shru shru shro shraddha vasudeva kataruchi. Hearing is done with shraddha, or faith, which means submissively, and also at the point of begging for help, which is what Krishna is trying to do with Arjuna. He's trying to bring him to the point. Help! Arjuna has already said, I'm surrendered to you, but he has to really be brought to the point of emotionally, that's it, help. And I can compare this to Draupadi's situation when the Kurus were trying to disrobe her. First, she was on her own strength trying to fight against these, big, strong thugs. And basically, at a certain point, she just threw her hands up and said, oh, that's it, Krishna, I'm ready to help. And then Krishna helped at that point. So sometimes we have to be at that point. Not sometimes. We have to be at that point to be able to hear nicely. Akinchana Gochara, which is what Kunti Devi says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8. Next verse. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labba labba jaya jayo tato yudaya yujashva naivam papam vapshyasi. Sukha, happiness, dukkha, and distress, same, and equanimity. That's interesting. Same, same. Kritva, doing so. Lava, alava, both profit and loss. Jaya, ajayo, both victory and defeat. Tata, thereafter. Udaya, for the sake of fighting. Yujashva, engage, fight. No, never. Evam, in this way. Papam, sinful reaction. Avapsyasi, you will gain. Translation, do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so you shall never incur sin. So in other words, this can be equated to doing our prescribed duty, or what we're supposed to be doing for Krishna, and not thinking ourselves the proprietor or the enjoyer of success or failure in that particular endeavor. Because the spiritual success is doing it, but doing it with a desire to please Krishna. If we're doing it with a desire to please ourselves, then we're actually thinking of success or failure in terms of ourselves. So this lesson applies to all of us. Purport. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting because he, meaning Krishna, desires the battle. There's no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness, so there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone as one is in the ordinary course of activities. In other words, let's say in my own personal life, let's say I'm trying to bring people to Krishna consciousness, and I'm trying my best to please Prabhupada and Krishna, and trying to help them so they'll be happy. But if I'm not successful in a particular case, I'm pleasing Krishna. I've done my duty, or that's a little dry to say about duty, but I've done my bhakti. I've given my heart to Krishna. I've given myself fully, and that's my success. And then it's up to Krishna. And of course, in the case of helping someone come to Krishna consciousness, it's also up to the individual living entity. There's free will. So we don't have a right to the results of an activity. We have a right to the activity itself, which is success, which is nectar, because it's loving exchange with Krishna. That's the success. To love Krishna and have Krishna love you and be offering things to Krishna and have Krishna reciprocate with you. So here is a very nice quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitrinham naking koronayam rinijarajan saratmanam ya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam haririchakartum. Anyone who is completely surrendered unto Krishna Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone. Not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. It's from the Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, text 41. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. So in other words, if we're serving Krishna, we're actually serving everyone. It's not that we're ignoring people and saying, yeah, you all go to hell. No, far from it. The example in the Vedic literatures is if you serve or water the root of the tree, then all the leaves get watered. Very, very simple. So if you serve Krishna, all right, let's say practical example. Again, I always make examples of my family. So let's say when I came to Krishna consciousness, my mother says, not a good idea. You are supposed to serve me. And I said, why? And she said, because I'm your mother. And I said, why does that make a difference? And then she got angry. So it's not that I'm not supposed to serve my mother. That's a double negative. I am supposed to serve my mother. That's duty. That is a fact. And I also am supposed to serve Krishna. So how to do both things is the point in the best possible way. So to serve someone doesn't mean always to do what they ask. Because sometimes someone will ask something that is not good for them. Probably gives the example of a boy who had jaundice or some disease who asked for fried foods. And his brother, out of sentiment, gave him something fried. And the boy got very sick. So we often ask for things that are really not good for us. In fact, we even go to God and ask for things that are not good for us. There's this one example story that Srila Prabhupada told. Once upon a time, there was an old lady who was going to the forest every day and collecting firewood. And in India, they would carry the firewood back on the head. And so as she was carrying the firewood back on her head, she stumbled, and all the firewood fell to the ground. And the poor lady was crying and crying and crying, God, Krishna, Krishna, help me. Krishna appeared, and he said, what do you want, my dear devotee? And she said, can you please pick up the wood and put it back on my head? I mean, Krishna appearing, I think you should ask him for something else. So, oftentimes we're asking Krishna for things that are not really helpful. So, anyway, so the point is, when you serve Krishna, getting back to the point, everyone gets benefits. So my mother got benefited, even though she asked for something that wasn't really good for her or for me. She said, please serve me and become a doctor. And really, it's not a bad idea to become a doctor, but in my particular case, the best possible course of action was to become a devotee or aspiring devotee who could help others. And it's a fact that now, since I've taken up Krishna consciousness, I've helped so many doctors become devotees. Pretty good. If I just become a doctor myself, just one doctor, maybe that doctor wouldn't be a devotee right now, who knows. So, actually, when I was young, this doesn't apply for everybody. This is not a general instruction for everybody, but it's specifically for me. When I was young, I asked Prabhupada, what should I do? Should I go back to the university and get a PhD in physics and work as a nuclear physicist or work in the Bhaktivedanta Institute? And Prabhupada said, what is the use? Just stay in the temple and serve and preach. And anyway, thank God I followed Prabhupada's direction. Even though I was inclined to go back to the university and get my PhD, I didn't. And I'm happy I followed Prabhupada's direction. So, and this way, I have so many PhDs that I'm guiding in Krishna consciousness. I mean, it's amazing. Just before this class, I was speaking to one of these PhDs, someone, a PhD student who's going to Cambridge. Can you imagine that, Cambridge? I would never get into Cambridge. So, and he's very enthusiastic and very intelligent and asking so many nice questions, and he's initiated Brahmin devotee. So, anyway, so the point is, when you become Krishna conscious, you benefit all your family members, you benefit all of humanity, you benefit all the demigods, everybody becomes satisfied. And that's life. So it's the best way to serve people, yourself becoming Krishna conscious. You can do other things too, that's fine. But we should understand that when one becomes Krishna conscious, the duty is to Krishna. Very nice. So let's continue. Text 39. Eisha te vihita sankye buddhir yoge duimam shanu buddhya yukto yeha parta karma bandham brahashyasi. Eisha, all this, te, unto you, avihita, describes, sankye, by analytical study. Sankhya actually basically means by counting or analysis. Buddhi, intelligence, yoge, in work without fruit of result, tu, but, imam, this, shrnu, just here, buddhya, by intelligence, yukta, dovetailed, yayao, by which part, the son of Prita, karma bandhan, bondage of reaction, prahasyasi, you can be released from. Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. That is the nature of the soul. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruit of results. O son of Prita, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Of course, fruit of results means activities that have some reaction, positive or negative to them. Fruit, they have some fruit. There's karmic fruit, okay? Karmic fruit. And Krishna conscious activities are activities that free you from that karmic fruit, good or bad. One may say, why should I be freed from the good fruit? I want to be freed from the bad fruit. That's a good point. And the reason is that we want to be freed from the good fruit is because the good fruit entangles us in this world. Okay, let's give an example of some good fruit. I'm not talking about mangoes or papayas. Actually, I haven't had a papaya since I left Fiji. Whew. How unfortunate. So, fruit, let's say a good fruit. Okay. A good fruit would be being extremely wealthy, let's say, or extremely handsome, or extremely intelligent. That would be good. Be born in such a situation where you're just like a whiz kid. And you're just like the head of the Mensa Society. That's extremely intelligent, of course. Then what happens is you become very proud. And you think, you identify yourself as the fruits or as the proprietor of the fruits, and you tend to deviate from spiritual work. So the good fruits actually can entangle you. Not to say that a devotee cannot be rich. A devotee can be rich, or a devotee can be beautiful or handsome or whatever it is. But that sort of fruit is used in Krishna's service to serve Krishna. Whereas the material good fruits entangle one, get them to think, oh, this is so nice. Just like one, let's say a good fruit is you're born in Hawaii with a lot of money. Another example, because I know some people from Hawaii are watching right now. And the weather is always perfect. The weatherman, he can just put a videotape of himself on every day because the weather's just basically the same. The waves are beautiful. Prabhupada said, if there's any nice place in this material world, it's Hawaii. Some devotees even said, the Prabhupada said that Hawaii was a remnant from a previous Satyuga or something like that. So, Prabhupada So, but what we find when everything is just like so beautiful, so nice, uh, it's hard to really take seriously spiritual life or spiritual activities. I mean, for example, the reason I mention Hawaii is not because of any particular individual at present, is because when I was GBC, that means Governing Body Commissioner for the Hawaiian Islands, and I would visit the temple regularly. One day I was sitting down to give class in the morning, called Bhagavad class, and I looked around and I said, where are all the brahmacharis? Brahmacharis means the young men and young women who were supposed to be dedicated to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the remaining devotees said, well, Maharaj, surf is up. Surf up means, it's good surf in the morning during the Bhagavatam class, best time for surfing, I guess, at that time of the year. And so at that time I didn't have the internet or anything to console me. Now I can give class to an empty room and people on the internet are watching and I'm in ecstasy. But then, to actually get yourself up and enthusiastic to give class to an empty room is really hard. Really, really, really hard. And you're thinking, Prabhupada said, all the demigods are there, Narada Muni is there, but I don't see them. So anyway, sometimes too much material opulence can be very bewildering and cause one to think that there's no need of spiritual life. So this is an important point. So anyway, so the bondage of works we want to get rid of because also it forces us to take birth. Good works, bad works, good result, bad result forces us to take birth. So according to the Nirukti or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in detail. And Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Of course, the word yoga comes from the Sanskrit root yuj, which means to connect. So what are you connecting with? You're connecting with Krishna. And by the Hatha Yoga process, you're using these different asanas, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi to control the senses so you can connect. Focus. In other words, focus. Be here now, as they say. Live in the present. Connect. And not deviate, not have your mind wander. And so the exercises can help you achieve that. Although, not absolutely necessary, but if you do and become Krishna conscious, all glories to you. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification, what he wanted to do. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the sons of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. Not what's good for people, not what's good for God, but what's good for good old me, number one. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived from seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at a sacrifice of wisdom or duty. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper, and he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future because all of us are individual souls eternally. We simply change our bodily dress in different manners, but actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. Yes, many verses. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of the Nirukti dictionary analysis. Just the analysis, that's all it means, analysis or counting. This Sankhya has nothing to do with Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, explained it to his mother Devahuti. So, let me explain something. So that Sankhya was a method of analyzing the different material elements and coming to the conclusion after and analyzing them, understanding the consciousness was not an epiphenomena. epiphenomena of the combination of different material elements, including earth, work, fire, earth, and mind, intelligence, false ego, the active senses, the perceptive senses, the aggregate, and ultimately, the material energy itself, that the consciousness was due to the soul, and then also there was the super soul. So it's a long process of analysis, and it's not prescribed in this day and age. But in the previous ages, one of the previous ages, Devahuti was taught this by her son Kapila. And he also explained this is called theistic Sankhya, not atheistic Sankhya. But there is an atheist person named Kapila who explained atheistic Sankhya. He did the same process but came to the wrong conclusion. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha, the Supreme Lord, is active in that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. Let's analyze or describe those words. Purusha means person, and Prakriti means matter, like this computer that I am using. Of course, you can't see the computer from there. But this computer that I am using is matter, and I am the Purusha that's causing it to do something. I'm typing on the keys or looking in the webcam or something like that. I'm the person who's using it. So that's the Prakriti. So Krishna activates this energy by looking at it, because he can do anything with any one of his senses. He doesn't have to take a hammer and nail and start to break it apart or anything like that. But he impregnates the material energy, and he looks at it, and as he looks at it, we come out of his body, and we enter into the energy, and we take different bodies according to our previous karma. It's a little complicated. This is accepted in the Vedas and the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. Exactly what I just said. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense grad. And under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation, when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. I am the enjoyer, proprietor. Will become God. This is the last snare of Maya, or sense gratificatory illusion, and it is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, therefore fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. We've been here a long time. And finally, what's called the school of hard knocks, many, many births, Bohanam Janmanamante, we come to Krishna. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Shishaste ham sarimam pam prapanam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddha Yoga or Karma Yoga. Buddha Yoga means intelligent yoga. Karma Yoga means action. And both of these are done within the greater circle of devotional service, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. In other words, when you practice Bhakti Yoga, it includes Buddha Yoga, using your intelligence, function on the intelligence platform, and Karma Yoga, doing things for Krishna. But it adds the additional ingredient of doing it with love and cultivating that love through the different processes, the 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. This Buddha Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being in direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. In other words, you have to please Paramatma with love. That's what pleases someone the most. You can't please him with anything else. He doesn't get pleased by giving him a nice donation, because he owns everything already. So all you have to give is your own heart to him. One who is therefore situated in devotional, transcendental, loving service of the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains the stage of Buddha Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion and love. So he's referring to the 10th chapter of the Gita. Tesham Satavyutanam. And that way the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. So that's it. It's very easy. You just love Krishna. Krishna is the most lovable. And the love impels you to serve him, to hear about him, to go to serve his devotees. That's all you got to do. Very simple process. You don't have to start analyzing the different material elements, earth, water, fire, ether, the active sense, the sense of touch. That's not an active sense, it's a perceptive sense. The sense of touch, the eyes. I'm not the eyes. Neti, neti, neti. I'm not the sound vibration. I'm not the tongue. And what am I? Actually, Prabhupada one time did very simple Sankhya when he was talking to a group of really small children. Prabhupada said to them, to teach them that they weren't the body, he said, point to yourself. No, what part of the body is you? Is it here, the head, the nose, the mouth, the heart, the ears? Point to the actual self, not the body. Point to yourself. And you can't really point to yourself in the body. You point to the body. Thus, the Buddha Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya mentioned here and has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila we mentioned before. One should not therefore misunderstand that the Sankhya Yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya. Nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time, nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculation. That was later. So real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in Srimad Bhagavatam, but even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. In other words, this particular type of Sankhya that Lord Kapila Dev described is not for us. Too much in the head. For those in previous ages who were that much in the head, great. But for us, no. And Lord Kapila was teaching his mother because his mother was supremely intelligent. Lord Kapila Dev was an incarnation of Krishna, and his mother was supremely intelligent. So that's why she was able to understand, and we are basically not able to fully understand the Sankhya philosophy, so she's more intelligent than us. Here, Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul, Lord, and of course Arjuna in previous ages, everybody was more intelligent than us. Arjuna heard the Bhagavad Gita in 35, 40 minutes, understood everything. For us, 35, 40, 50 years, and we're just starting to learn it. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddha Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya as described in the Bhagavatam are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga because the goal is the same, but in one sense, in one case, Lord Kapila Dev Sankhya in the Bhagavatam is much more complex, because people were much more intelligent. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. They're both the same thing. Sankhya Yoga pratadbala prapadanti na pandita. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti Yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita. It wasn't even present at the time Bhagavad Gita was spoken. One should therefore understand that Buddha Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddha Yoga. Buddhi, of course, means intelligence. Okay, intelligent yoga. As we mentioned in the previous class, intelligence controls the mind. Sorry, I'm pointing to the mind in both cases. Intelligence controls the mind. And the intelligence comes from Supersoul. It's the form direction of Supersoul. Controls the mind. Right? And the mind controls the senses. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. And we are the passenger on that body, in which the intelligence is the driver, the mind, the reins, and the horses are the senses, and the whole chariot is the body. So however difficult, so he's working on the principles of Buddha Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. What is transcendental bliss? It's not just like, I'm blissed out, spaced out, blissed out. Bliss means it's analyzed. Even Krishna consciousness is so scientific that we have analyzed bliss, not we, but Rupa Goswami has analyzed bliss in different categories. These are called bhavas. There's 33 types of bliss that are uncontrollable and intermittent. There's natural bliss. There's 8 types of natural bliss. There's bliss that follows your being stimulated by remembering Krishna. There's the constant bliss of a relationship. That's what bhava means. Bhava means emotion. So we find ourselves always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, that's what we really want. We want to be happy. What else do you want? You want to be happy. Money can't buy you happiness. So by such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord. Thus his liberation is complete in itself without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification for achieving results in terms of family or material happiness. Buddha Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work we perform. So transcendental means Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Eternal, something that's never lost. Everything else is Asat. Remember we talked in the previous verse, Asato Vijate Bhavo, that things that are temporary are considered in one sense unreal. Chit, knowledge, you get perfect knowledge, not knowledge that comes from the senses, and knowledge that comes from what somebody speculates, it may be like this, it may be like that. And the most important thing is you get Ananda. Ananda means bliss, unlimited bliss. Kevala Ananda. There's an interesting verse. Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai. Just worship Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and then you will get Ananda, unlimited bliss. So, in that happy note of bliss, we will end, and tomorrow we'll continue with text 40, and we could take a few questions now, but first let me take you off of mute so you can take yourselves off of mute. And you are ready now. So, who wants to say something?
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
So I find the discussion on Kapila very interesting, and because it brought to mind one very particular thing. I'm somewhat new to it, but I know one verse is, it says, Siddhanam Kapilo Munehi. So
Yes.
that, he says of all the
Siddhas.
perfected people,
Yeah.
so it's like he directly references
Kapila,
Kapil.
yeah. In the opulences of the absolute. Yeah. So that's the Kapila he was talking about. Because Kapila is an incarnation of Krishna. So Siddhana means of all perfected, perfect beings. Krishna is giving representations of himself in that chapter so that we can understand his greatness. This means, because he's an incarnation of Krishna, so he's considered one of the opulences of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. But all these are taken, some of these opulences are taken in a rather metaphorical way. For example, Krishna says in the same chapter of aquatics, I am the shark. That doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that all of us should go and stick our heads in the mouths of sharks, especially, the killer sharks, whatever, the great white shark.
Oh, so in some sense, it's like intended to relieve those people who might search for him among, say, who might otherwise go to Kapil, redirect those followers to him.
Right, exactly.
So, because just like, you might say those people who might search for him in the form of the shark, they might, they'll be endangered if they do that. That wouldn't be a good thing. And just like, following the atheism of Kapil, that wouldn't be good, but whatever intention you might have for searching for him there, you can find here.
Yeah. And also, when Krishna is presenting those things, he's presenting things that are very great and majestic or powerful or intelligent in this world. So you can see that all these things, because at the end of the chapter, Krishna says, what is the use of all this detailed knowledge? Because I'm referring to chapter 10, of course. Well, what is the use of all this detailed knowledge with it? Because with a single fragment of my potencies, I can do all these things. So he's presenting all great and wonderful things so you can appreciate the greatness of God. Not so that you take it all literally. You don't take literally. Like Krishna gives other things, like of mountains on Mount Meru and things like that. So you don't go, or the Himalaya, immovable things on the Himalayas. You don't just go worshiping everything that Krishna mentions in the 10th chapter of the Gita. The chapter is Vibhuti Yogam, describing Krishna's different opulences or energies. So it's a rather metaphorical chapter,
Ah,
chapter 10. Not everything in chapter 10 is meant to be taken completely literally. Uh,
that makes sense.
Sometimes there's a metaphorical statement. I'm the, like for example, let's say I'm in charge of the temple here. I can say, I'm the king of the temple. I'm not a king, but it's just like to help you understand, by reference to something else.
Thank
Hopefully,
you.
I'm not a king. I'd like to be Krishna's devotee. So, who else has a question?
Gurudev,
Yes, Praneshwara,
yeah.
the famous
So
Praneshwara.
yeah, my question is like the lady. What would be the ideal prayer for the lady who carrying the wood and the Krishna appear in front and she just saying to give
What would be
the
the right prayer for her? Well, if she was
yes.
Krishna conscious, she would say, Krishna, let me become your devotee and free me from all this burden. Make it at least make it so that don't have to carry wood for the rest of my life or for eternity. Give me eternal. In other words, you go to a rich man. Let's say you go to Bill Gates and say, "Can you please give me a dime for a cup of coffee?" It's pretty stupid. If I was going to go to Bill Gates, I'd ask him for a lot of money to build a temple. Of course, I don't drink coffee, but and I wouldn't ask him for a new computer either. I would ask, I would ask him for a lot more. So you go to God, you ask him for the greatest thing he can give, which is pure devotional service. There was another story Prabhupada told that's equally as funny. Prabhupada said once upon a time there was a man who had to, let's say, use a rope to pull his boat upriver. Now that's done sometimes in India and other countries. It used to be, at least, where the boat would be used to go downriver, and then the man on the shore would actually use a rope. One or two men on the shore would use a rope and pull the boat upriver. You might have seen that in India. I did in the past. I don't know if they still do it. And so this man was praying to God. Krishna appeared, and he said, "Can you please make the ground soft like a pillow, so when I pull the boat upriver, it's not, my feet are actually comfortable." Another stupid request. When you can go to someone who has everything and you can ask him for a position so you never have to pull the boat upriver, you're just asking him to make it more comfortable. It's like in jail. Let's say the warden of the jail, or let's say the governor who can release you from the jail says, "What do you want, my dear prisoner? I can release you from jail if you want." And he said, "I just want a bed. I just want a cell with a TV set and a bed in it." It's kind of stupid. He can release you. He can set you free. But all you want is a more comfortable jail cell? That's pretty stupid. So the woman was stupid, the man was stupid, and whatever. Everyone's stupid. Sorry, don't want to insult everybody for being stupid, but it's a fact. I mean, if God appears, let's say if Krishna came right now, I'm giving class, and right behind me, all of a sudden, boom, Krishna appears and says, "Oh, I'm so pleased with you for giving class. What do you want? And I say, can I have a new computer, Krishna? It's kind of stupid. Or Krishna, can you make me young again? You know, that's stupid also. When Krishna can give everything, eternal life of full blessed knowledge, and give me pure devotional service or whatever, you know, and I'm asking for just something that's just insignificant like that. So when you approach someone who can give you anything, don't ask for some pittance or some small thing. Okay, one more question. Is Nalini Kant here? I don't see him. Oh my God. He must be operating. Oh, Hare Krishna. Good to see you, Joe.
Yes, lovely to see you, Maharaj. Thank you for the amazing classes.
Thank you.
Today we talked about yoga, including sense control.
Right.
And in a number of your earlier classes, you've mentioned eating grains, we consume the consciousness
Right.
if it's prepared by non-devotees, so to try not to do that. So I've been meditating on that and really trying to make a conscious effort just to eat prasadam, not
Good,
to eat
good.
anything cooked. And I think through that process, I've just really become conscious how much of a slave I am to my tongue. How, you know, I can maintain, control, and then just, you know, I want to enjoy. So how do we get over that control, and then just lose control, particularly in relation to the tongue and eating?
Oh, and actually, of course, it's said that of all the senses, the tongue is the most uncontrollable and difficult to control. So we pray for Krishna's mercy. Practical experience is regulation. Now, this is going to be a hard one for a lot of people. Is that eating only at certain times of the day? We have this saying. It's actually from New York. It's called noshing. I don't know if you've heard this statement before. Noshing. Noshing means taking snacks in between meals. So it's actually an interesting word, noshing. I should teach it to everybody. So if we eat at regulated times and eat pretty much, I mean, this is very hard for people, pretty much the same thing every day, the tongue comes under control much more easily. If every day we're on the mental platform thinking, well, today I want Chinese food, I mean vegetarian, prasadam, Chinese food. Tomorrow I want German food, hopefully not knockwurst. The next day I want Japanese food, Italian food, whatever. I mean, of course, there can be some variety. But it's always good just to be regulated at the same time and eating the same amount. I mean, it's hard. It is definitely hard. But the food should be tasty. And one should be getting satisfaction. Another point is that one should be getting satisfaction through the activities that one's doing during the day, too. If one's not getting emotional satisfaction, I mean, that's another reason why some people overeat or eat the wrong things, is because they're trying to satisfy their emotions through the eating process, not necessarily just the tongue, but eating becomes like an emotional satisfaction thing, or sometimes it's called they're self-medicating with food. So there's many different factors why people are controlled by the tongue or eating too much. The main thing is, in my experience, is regulation. Regulation, knowing how much you can eat. And I try to basically eat the same thing every day. My diet is the same, and I enjoy it because it's when I'm eating it, I chew, and I think that I'm taking prasadam, and I am taking prasadam, and I'm meditating on the fact that it's Krishna prasadam. You know, oftentimes when we eat, we swallow our food without chewing. the Ayurvedas give us a particular methodology saying that we should chew any solid food. We're not talking about water. Chew any solid food something like 20 times before we actually swallow it. And when you do that, you can actually relish the taste of prasadam. Think of it, this is the taste of prasadam. And of course, if you're chewing so much, it actually becomes tiring to eat too much. That's another trick. So anyway, these are some of the ideas that we've had in the past about controlling the tongue, and then one's happy. I mean, but basically you have to be happy otherwise. If you're not happy otherwise, then you're going to be looking for that particular strategy to become satisfied. So it takes some practice. What can I say? But it's very satisfying, man. I love what I eat every day. But some people think of what I eat and they think, oh my God, I could never live like that. I mean, I tell you what I eat. I eat in the morning. I have fruit. I have one orange, one grapefruit because that's vitamin C, and I take quinoa puffs and other little puffy things in the morning, quinoa and other things, and some nuts or nut butter, and a little bit of dried fruit, and that's it every morning. Except when I go to New Zealand, they try to feed me and make me, anyway, try to fatten me up for the kill or something like that. So anyways, so, but, and in the afternoon, you know, like 4 o'clock or whatever, then I take some quinoa soup with sauerkraut, not all mixed together, sauerkraut and some greens, and of course vegetables in the soup and avocado. That's about it. I take sufficient quantity, and I'm healthy, and I'm not. But you know, I can tell you, when I was your age, you know, 18, I
18.
I, I know when I was young, you know, I would just definitely look forward to what we would call the Sunday feast in ISKCON, and I definitely did it. I definitely set new world records for eating prasadam. So there's a time and place for everything. So I don't want to impose my standard of eating on anyone else. But you asked for some hints, and those hints may help us eat the proper amount and not be so thinking of food all day long. Because I think of food, but only when only at the certain times of the day. So I'm very regulated. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm very regulated as to the time factor. And now I think we should end because of the time factor. I have things to do before I take rest tonight, and it's nice seeing everybody. We want to thank everybody for joining us. It's very enlivening for me. And we'll see you all. Actually, tomorrow morning I'm giving class, Nugaloka, at 6:30 in the morning. I'm giving class. It'll be on Zoom and also on Facebook Live. Tomorrow morning, Mangalarti at 4:30 in the morning, Nugaloka. That's going to be on Facebook Live. Greeting the Deities is going to be on Zoom and Facebook Live at 7:15 in the morning and tomorrow evening. Whatever time it is, wherever you are, you can figure it out. Okay, thank you very much. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.